Hi everyone and welcome to EFOFEST 2020. In this video we will be making the Denim Feather wall hanging. This is one of 7 videos that are in this series for EFOFEST. When you go into the YouTube channel, if you check out the details below, there is templates and information sheets as well. And also at the end of the video, it'll give you a link to the playlist where you can find the other videos in this series. We would love to see what you've come up with, and feel free to add your own little artistic spin on what we're about to create. We would love to see photos of your work. Above is the email address where to send your photos, and also the hashtags if you're posting on social media as well. Most of the items that we'll be using to do this denim wall hanging you will be able to find at home. So we need some scrap pieces of denim, and they can be any colour. I just want to talk a little bit about choosing the type of denim for this project, and it has been trial and error. So if we look at the more traditional type of denim that was made of pure cotton, it's quite sturdy and it doesn't have a lot of give. It has a little bit of give, but over a period of time they've started to change the denim into something that's a little bit more comfortable to wear. So they introduced elastic into as well as the cotton. So it has, well, these pair of jeans have quite a lot of stretch in it, and that's due to one of the fibres having elastic in it, and this is elastic from a piece that I've just pulled out. So it is much easier to use the traditional one for this because it pulls away really easily. So this one here is the one that has stretch in it, and as you can see I've started doing it, and the elastic is quite hard. It seems to be woven a lot closer weave as well, and it breaks, and it is a lot more difficult to pull them out. So the stretchy stuff for this project, not a great idea. I actually have, this is what you call a mattress needle. It's quite long, and it has quite a wide eye in it, which makes it helpful when you're threading through the yarn or the wool. You can use a smaller one if you have one of those at home. You can often get these, they're normally about that long. And if you don't have a needle, you can opt to use glue. You need a sharp pair of scissors, and then there's a template that's below that has cut out shapes of the feathers. You can use that and print it out, or you can just make your own as well in that similar shape. If you wander outside and find yourself a branch, this one's probably just a bit bigger than a ruler size, so maybe about 40 centimetres. It is handy if you let it dry out as well, because sometimes if the branches are green they can leach like a yellow sap that can go onto your wall as well. The other one that I've made, the sample one, I've actually found that wood on the beach, and so it has sort of a beach wood look, which they're really quite good as well because they're nice and light. This is just a branch I've found in my back garden. Before we get started, we're just going to have a look at the weave of the material of denim. There are lots of different types that they've invented over the years of denim, and you might have seen how the quality of denim has changed over time as well. So if you've done weaving before, this is probably pretty easy for you and you already know, but I'm just going to go through it. So in the weaving process there's warps and wefts. So you'll see in the jeans and it's easier to see that there is a white and a white or a light blue and a darker thread that goes in there as well. So when we go to place it on the material, it's really important that we place it so that it runs either way. So if we had it on the angle and we go to take one of these away, the feathers won't form in the middle. So we need to make sure that we have on our wefts and wefts so that it goes straight up and down, or it goes this way as well. So that also helps us to make which colour is left, so when we're taking away the threads that we're left with a particular colour. Alrighty, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to come in a little bit closer here, hopefully that's in focus. So we're just having a closer look at the wefts and wefts as we were talking about before with material. So it might be an idea if you just pull out a few pieces. So I've just got a hold of the warp here, so that's the indigo coloured one, and we can tell that that's pulling off on a straight line in there, and that we can see that the wefts are also running in a straight line this way. So that just means once you go to place your template down, that we're making sure the centre of the template is in line with the warps are running that way, and then straight across for the wefts as well. Alrighty, so this one here, because we're taking away the warps, will actually be the lighter colour. So the white or the light blue, the feather will be in this one. So if we wanted it to be a dark blue, then we would need to go the other way where we are pulling away the wefts. As I said, it doesn't really matter if we're not getting this straight. We can trim it up afterwards, but I'll go over as close as I can to this to stop the wastage. End up with threads everywhere. So So we're going to get so far, and you can actually see with this one, I was a little bit off centre, so I should have shifted it around so that the line ran straight up the middle, but that's okay because we can just adjust our pattern in there. That's no worries at all. So you do want to stop there once you get to the middle of that top bit there. So I'm just going to flip it over, and then we're going to start pulling from the other side. So that's roughly about a centimetre if you leave a centimetre in the middle. So as I said, like if we can look at that, I was quite off in my shape, like to where I had the centre of it, but it is a little bit difficult in denim to see, but we can definitely fix that. So if you can see, we've got a bit of a point on there, so we're wanting just to shape it a little bit. And feathers aren't all perfect, so let's give that a little bit of a cut. I'm just bringing this up close so you can see what I'm doing, but it's probably easier to place this actually on the table. That way you're not going to cut your fingers. So there. Okay, so we have our little feather there. So if you don't have access to a needle, especially one this big, you can opt to use glue. It will just take a little longer to dry, which is okay as well. So with this one here, I quite like the contrast between the darker denim and the lighter threads in there. So I'm going to use this one as a back. Bear in mind they can, once they're hanging, they do get a little bit twisted in there. But what you'll do is place a row of glue down the center of it, and then I'll just turn it around. So this is the bottom, the pointy end, and this is the top up here. So once your glue's down, just place that on top, and you might like to put like a little weight on either end just to hold it down, and it might just need, once you've got the glue in there, a little press to connect with that, and then you'll need to let that dry, and then you can work on your next one as well. So maybe when you're doing this, put it place it off to the side. So I'll show you the threading method. It's always easier when you've got yarn to cut the end off of it. Just makes it easier to thread, and maybe a little bit of spit as well. So you can use whatever thread you've got at home. It can pretty much be anything, just as long as it's strong enough. So that's through. Just coming in a little bit closer so you can see. So I'm down at the pointy end or the bottom of it, and then I've got my needle all threaded. Just make sure you've got a bit of a tail in there so it doesn't come undone. But you're just going to go backwards and forwards, threading it onto the needle. So if you've got a short needle, you'll probably have to, at this stage, push it through. But because my needle is quite long, I could fit the whole lot on here actually. And we're just going to push that through. And out the other end. So you want to make sure that you do have a little bit of a tail at the end, so probably a little bit more like that. So you can either tie a knot in this and that's the end of it, or if you've got any beads at home, or pretty much anything that you could use as a little weight. And then you do need a length, maybe about 20 centimeters to tie it onto your stick as well. So I'll just show you with these ones. So I was saying before that it can curl. So this one's curled up. But I've actually found some beads in the back of the cupboard. So I've just threaded on 3 beads and then just tied a normal knot in the last one there. So you can do different coloured beads or whatever you have at home that has a hole in it that you can thread it through. So we're about to assemble our wall hanging, and you would have made all of your feathers. You can have a look around for other little embellishments as well. So in my craft goodie bag, I actually have acquired this bag of, it looks like beech wood. So they make great surfaces for drawing on. So that's what I've got here. and I've just used a drill to put a hole in the end of it. If you don't have a drill, you might be able to glue it or find another way to bound your wool around it. So I've just put some little words on there. I actually went to the beach recently and I found this little guy, so I've just attached it to it as well. So once you've got your feathers done, it's easy as just tying them on like a normal granny knot. There's no rocket science in there. I actually purposely did 5, so I did 3 of the darker ones and 2 of the lighter ones if you like to pattern as well. And then the last thing that we need to do is to use wool or whatever you would like to hang it. So what I did to measure it was just did the length of the stick plus about approximately half of the length. So that gives you how long it is, and I ended up putting 3 layers in there, so it depends on how heavy your wood is. So the stick I had before was a lot heavier than this beech wood, so you've got that mark there, and then you just do it twice or 3 times. So you've got 3 layers in there, and then just give that a cut. And just to hold it all together, I've just done some little knots in there. So I just went along and then just pretty much did a loop through and tied a knot. Just roughly measured that. Did a loop, tied a knot in there as well, and I think we need to do just one more. So that just kind of keeps it all taut in there, and then you can just tie the ends in there and then hang it up that way. This one here I had done a little bit longer, and so I put a loop in there as well, but I didn't measure it before, so you don't really need to do that. You can if you like, so it'll just be making a loop halfway along. And pulling it through so you know it's in the center, and then tie that on. You just have to be careful that you've got enough distance in there to be able to tie these ones on, so you can let that, it's easy enough to let that loop out a little bit. So there you go, there's the wall hanging. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you like EcoFest this year.